get started, I've just got a piece of paper here. It's just a piece of watercolour paper. It's nothing particularly posh. As you can see, I've already made a pig's ear of the other side of it. It doesn't have to be anything like this. You could use pretty much anything you've got lying about, depending on what medium you're going to put over the top. I am going to cut this up into some pieces. So I'm just going to mark it where I want to cut it. I want some pieces that are, let's say, roughly the right size. It doesn't really matter too precisely. You can always trim things later down the line, but this is just going to make it a little bit easier to handle. A little bit of a craft project here. As usual, and every time I seem to be doing a project in here, it seems to be raining like mad outside. So as it's July, obviously it's still raining like mad outside, but we're going to channel some lovely sunny beach scenes here. So we're going to make a little picture, and it's going to have layers in it. This is the plan. So what I will do, I'll put them this way round so you can see better. We're going to paint each of these a different colour. We're going to use different things to make them look like the different bits of the beach, and then we shall layer them up. So this one, put the others out of the way for a minute. This one is going to be the beach colour, and to do that I'm going to just mix up some sort of a light sandy colour, a yellow ochre, a sienna, anything you've got like that, anything brown basically. If you want a bit of warmth in it, maybe a warm yellow in it as well. That's a nice sand colour, isn't it? There we go, there we go. And then I'm going to make it look a bit more like sand. Let's make sure we've got plenty. A really big puddle. Here we go, massive puddle now. I'm going to put it on. Oops, it's all gone in the ultramarine. That's not good. And you see how wet that is? There's a lot of water going on here. And then I'm going to use things that are basically lying about in the studio, just to try and add a little bit of texture to it. So as it's starting to dry, you could sprinkle sand on it. What we could do as well, we could put a tiny bit of salt on it. If I could get into the salt sachets. This is the convenient thing about living near the sea, is there are lots of fish and chip shops. A little bit of salt on wet paint. If you're using other mediums, so maybe you're using pen or crayon or anything you like really, think of ways that you could add texture, and that might be, if you're using quite a thin piece of paper, you could do some rubbing on a surface from the back. Something like maybe some rough wood or something would give you quite a textured surface, but you just want something that is going to give it a little bit of texture. If you're using acrylic, you could scrape into it or press into it. There's lots of different ways of doing this. So that's going to be one of our layers. Just some nice sand colours. Now, the bit nearest the shore, might need to have a bit of a wipe off because I haven't got a huge amount of space otherwise, and what I don't want is this to end up green. So let's get rid of all the yellow. Now, well, actually no, I say I don't want it to end up green, but I do kind of want it to end up a bit turquoisey. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit of that yellow and get some of this blue and just keep kind of, because the sea is turquoise, isn't it? Oh yeah, that's a nice colour. Let's see if I can get it a bit lighter. We're making stripes of sea in essence. That's quite a nice colour, and I might just put a little bit more in. That's really green now, isn't it? Maybe too green. Okay, knock it back a bit. There we go. A little bit more blue. Yeah, I think that'll do. Now this I am definitely going to use some. I'm going to use salt. No, I'm not. I'm going to use something else I've got kicking about. So this is a really, really cheap packet of oil pastels. They came from the works. which if you're not in the UK is a really cheap shop that sells art materials. I don't go in there for the really high quality art materials that I buy, but I do go in there for things to have a bit of fun with and a bit of a play. So I've got some fairly gnarly colours, I'll be honest. They're not the colours that I would necessarily have chosen, but they're not terrible. Let's have a look. That's quite a good colour. What's this? It's probably a bit blue. That's more a sea colour, and maybe there's a colour not found in nature. Oh my god, no, that's horrifying. No, let's put that one back. Let's not use that one, shall we? Marginally better. So what I'm going to do, what am I going to do? I'm going to unpeel the wrapping around this. You've got crayons, you could use crayons. Oh, well, that was good, wasn't it? Now it's in two pieces. Never mind, that's fine. And I'm going to use this to add some of my texture. Now, oil pastels, I think this set was about something like £4. They really are not high quality, but they are fun. I wouldn't do this with my posh oil pastels, but I can do it with these, and then because they're oil, they act as a wax resist. And what that means is, or an oil resist really, the paper is waterproofed. So you get this really interesting effect. I'm going to have to clean my palette really well after this because it's going to have oil and salt and all manner of disgusting gnarly things on it. So just be a bit careful if you are using a watercolour palette that you do try to keep the salt and everything out of the paint wells. Okay, that's quite interesting now. So just to put this up here so you can see, I've got loads of different interesting textures and things happening on here. Any sort of paint, any sort of crayon will have a similar sort of effect. So I'm going to put that one to dry somewhere as well. And we're going to do another layer. And this time I'm going to unwrap the... Oh, there we go. No, it doesn't want to come out. I'm going to unwrap the white one. Now, actually, I could use... I've got a candle here I was going to use instead. Do you know what? Yeah, I will use the candle. I've got a green fly on that. Off we go. Right. So this is going to be another layer. Be interesting to see how this comes out actually, because I've never used a candle flat like this before. Let's find out. The paper I've got here is a little bit textured, so it will be fun to find out what happens. I'm going to go for a... We've got quite a dark colour there, haven't we? So we need something a little bit lighter. I've got some cerulean type blue here. So like a sky blue. Add a little bit more yellow into that. I might go for really green here because this is in the shallows. Right, let's see what happens when I bring this in. Oh, that's rather nice. This art club session is all about playing with texture really more than anything. So I've got now, oh, I might even put in some lighter patches there. Let's get some more yellowy sort of colour. Oh, that's really green. And you'll see the wax is resisting. This just really doesn't want to let the paint settle into where the wax is, which is brilliant because you can use that for all sorts of useful effects. So we've got 3 pieces now, and then we're going to have a really nice deep darker one. So what I might do for that one, this is kind of the deep sea at this point, is I'm going to go for a blue Aha, which one is it? Is it that one? I think it might be this one. That's quite deep and dark, isn't it? There we go. That's a Prussian blue, I think. I ought to know this, oughtn't I? It's my palette. There's a couple here I don't use very often, so that I think is that one. Ah, no, I'm lying. It's not Prussian blue at all. It's Indothrone blue. Prussian blue is over here. Right, that will do nicely. Right, this last layer, I am going to put it on. I think I'm just going to put it on neat. If you've ever tried to get really kind of nice, neat stripes of watercolour on something like this, the trick is to mix up a massive puddle of the stuff before you start. Each stroke you need to really load your brush, because if you don't really load your brush, you'll find that you run out of paint. If you can't get to the end of your paper with the pool you've mixed, you're going to get into a pickle. So I mixed a lot, and now once you've done it, once you've got the paint on, don't mess with it, just let it sit. So I've got 3 lots now of C. Actually, I lie, I'm not going to go off and make a cup of tea. I'm going to put one more little layer on this, and the layer that I'm going to put on, now that's dried a little bit, I'm going to use a little bit of flick and splatter just to add a bit of interest, and I'm going to do that with a nice warm, that is a little bit of yellow ochre going on there. And when you do flick and splatter type things, you load the brush up. So I've got quite a lot of paint on quite a big brush. Put your finger out like that and just start tapping. If it's not coming off, add a bit more water. It's a lot more controllable than just whacking it down like that. That will end up absolutely everywhere. So here we go. And some of this is still slightly wet, so some of it will stay as little bubbles. I could even put a 3rd layer on here. I need to refill my light red, so it's pretty messy, that one. I'll just put a few more on just to... There we go. Now I'm going to let that dry properly. Okay, so we're on to round 2 of the little mini project, and it is quite a simple mini project this month. So I've got, this is my sand layer, and it is mostly dry, so we'll just go with that. When it is completely dry, I've just brushed a lot of the salt off, and you can see it gives quite a nice textured effect along with the little flicks and splatters that I put on. So I've got my beach here. This is going to be the base layer of the whole thing. So this is why we needed 4 roughly the same size. And now what we need to do is start making some tears in what we've got here. This is my next layer of C, so you can see they'll fit exactly over the top of each other. If you've used watercolour paper, something very cool will happen when you start doing this, which is that the you'll get like almost like, well, I'll show you. So if it's facing upwards and you start tearing, you'll get a wave effect going on, and you see with the different layers of paper there. So there's my little wave, and now I can put that there on my beach. It's quite fun. I could use this as a second layer. Actually, I could do that. Do I want to do that? No, I'm not going to do that today, but I could. This is my next layer, so I need to make this smaller, so I need to start tearing about here. And again, doesn't have to match the first layer. Oh, this is dangerous because it's still slightly wet, wetter than I would have liked it to be, but can't dry anything here at the moment. It's absolutely soaking. Look, 2 layers, and this is my lovely calm ocean a little bit further out, so I need to rip it about here. Obviously it will be a heck of a lot easier to tear if you haven't used watercolour paper, but it is, as you can see, it's quite fun. And then what you can do is you can use some glue to stick it all together, so you've got these waves rolling in onto the shore, and just slice off the edges very, very carefully so that you've got a complete picture. Now I have obviously done this when it was slightly wet. We'll ignore the fact that I've done that. But you could do a really long one of these with a lot of different layers in, and each time you tear the paper you get these interesting waves. So you could actually do a whole picture like this with just with these ripped waves all the way up. So I'm going to just lift this up so you can see. I am going to glue it all together, but I'm not going to do it just yet because I'd rather let it all dry really properly first. So this is just a mini beach scene. These nice textured bits on it. If you haven't used watercolour paper, and you've just used plain paper, you will still get interesting ripping things happening. So maybe even make more of them than just the 3, and you'll get some wave effects going on too. Okay, so that's it for July. We have done a really simple little project today, which is really easy to do at home. As I said while I was making it, you could actually do lots and lots of layers of this. It would be really beautiful to make an incredibly long one, going darker and darker and darker and darker. Where I live in Sidmouth, the sea actually goes pink. It has a pink and a turquoise section, so you could look, if you're near the sea, you could do it as to whatever is particular to your particular area of the sea. If you try this at home, send me a picture. I always love to see what people get up to, and I'll see you back in August. Thanks very much. Bye.